didn't happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reached the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open.
For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise,
visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there. All right, how the devil are we all? Well, a bit of a strange show tonight. At the moment, I'm flying solo. That's the joy of being single, I guess. But the gentleman who was supposed to come on, who was very much a Rodgers out fan, Rodgers out Leicester fan, has chickened out. Well, I say chickened out. Of course, anything could have happened to him. Messaged him a few hours ago, earlier on this afternoon. You fine to come on at 7? Yep, mate, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. Gets to now. Where is he? So maybe these Rodgers out fans are kind of sticking their head out from behind the stone, but when it comes to actually discussing it, maybe they don't want to. This is Leicester Till I Die TV. You can find us on Leicester Till I Die TV YouTube. Please give us a subscribe and smash that likes. Or you can find us, if you're listening and watching this on catch up on podcast, on Amazon, Apple iTunes, Google, Spotify, and all the main podcast platforms. This is where you can find us.
watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Whoa. Ash kind of probably says it all here. What a muppet that has gone into hiding. Rodgers' Blue and White Army. Do you know, I mean, I've had a few people sort of on Facebook when I've been promoting this saying, like, I'm disgusted in Leicester Till I Die having this discussion. But it's fans. It's what a certain number of fans, a certain section are saying. And we've got somebody in the chat who can't make it on the show. It wasn't him, but he's actually also of that ilk, but he is travelling at the moment, so he can't join us. And I'll put a couple of his comments up soon. I'm gonna sort of show you this, because for those of you that follow me, you'll know now and again I do a bit of a blog on the BBC Leicester City website. And if you go on to bbc.co.uk/Leicester City, you'll see they're called the Tuesday Talking Point. I just want to add this into you. It does go on a little bit, so I'm going to read it out, but do bear with me. So I basically wrote, keep the faith, Foxes never quit. Whichever saying you want to quote, it seems some Leicester fans are finding that difficult, albeit a minority at the moment. Media talk is of a club in turmoil. The truth is, we believe we are a club that is suffering one bad season. I believe so. We are a club that is suffering one bad season. But I guess that doesn't count as good headlines. So is Brendan Rodgers under pressure? In a way, he has become a victim of his own success. He has a great relationship with the owner. Just remember the scenes on the pitch post-FA Cup win. But constant speculation about your job goes with being a Premier League manager. Of course it does. Let me just bring that a little bit more up for you now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan who wears blue tinted spectacles. I was shouting loud for Claudio Ranieri to go, but at that time, as Premier League champions, we were in a relegation battle. As things stand, we are not in such a battle yet. But we should judge our manager when we have a fully fit squad. We know what he can do when we have that. 2 fifth-place finishes, an FA Cup and a Community Shield win. This season, we've had injuries to 9 defensive players, not to mention midfielders like Maddison and strikers like Vardy. In these post-COVID times, our owners have been hit badly with being in the tourism industry, so money has been tight, as seen by the lack of purchases in January. But they continue to have the vision to expand the ground and the surroundings. And, I mean, basically, when that's all finished, by God, it will be absolutely unreal. This time last year, all you fans that wanted him out were saying, no. And, Man United have been linked with him. Spurs have been linked with him. Everybody's been, no, he's got a manager. You're going to get your own manager. Now you're saying you want him out. I always say it does look, well, if you look up in the dictionary, football fan, it does say fickle next to it. But, you can't have it always. We're in the middle of a long-term project with Brendan. We have good youth players coming through. Let's be careful what we wish for. As fans, I used to live in Lancashire, those of you that know me well, and I actually spent a time working at Blackburn Rovers. Yeah, I know. I've scrubbed myself down since then. Don't worry. It was only for about 6 months. My mind had gone, But anyway, I was working for Blackburn Rovers, and they sold out to the Venki brothers from India. And their manager at the time was Sam Allardyce. I think they were sitting possibly sort of mid-ish table, and the fans were getting on Allardyce's back. They wanted him out. They wanted him gone. And the owners, being new, wanted to appease the show, appease the manager, appease the fans. So they said, look, we'll get rid of him. And they got rid of him. And they made Steve Keane, one of his coaches, the manager. Yeah, they were in the Premier League at the time. They've not been in the Premier League since. He took them down. They went down to the 3rd tier. Do be careful what we wish for. Now, Facebook user has said here, and I'm just going to see who it is because he's not had the balls to put his name to it. But he's saying here, what a stupid reason to do a show. Well, do you know what? Maybe you sort of your sort of comments are possibly part of the trouble here, because it's Daz LCFC stock win. Daz, grow a pair. Put your name at the end. It doesn't, you haven't logged in, so it doesn't bring your name up. Fans have got the right to have any opinion they want to, Daz. because it doesn't agree with you, it doesn't make it wrong. And if fans want the manager out, they're not happy with the manager, as we had with Puel, and if he was old as me, David Pleat, then you've got every right to say so. And we've got every right to discuss it. You've got to be careful. You have got to be careful. But let's just go through some comments before I start going through some information. But Daz, don't like it. Get out of the group. Get off the channel. I don't care. If that's going to be your attitude, mate, go it. Good evening, Ants fan channel. I say he is actually Rodgers out, but he is actually travelling at the moment, so he can't do what? Come on. Ant says he's not won away from home in the league since October the 24th, have not won in the league since December the 28th. We've lost more games than 19th place than Burnley. Yeah, we've won more than them, though, Ant. They've only won 2. I think we've won more. Ash, what a muppet that has gone into hiding. Yep, totally, Ash. I think I mentioned that one, read that out before. Like I said, maybe that is some of the Rodgers out fans. Not all of them, man, because you've come on here to put your point across. He is a cycle manager. Everywhere he goes in the third year, it falls apart. They said that about Ranieri. There was an Italian psychologist, I think it was, when we appointed him, and there was all the furore. Well, what are you doing appointing, this manager? 2 years, and that's it. He's gone. And it was about right. He had gone in 2 years. But you know what? It can sometimes work that maybe if you give these managers a bit longer. I mean, we were worse off under Ranieri, and we were Premier League champions. I mean, we did that year finish the worst ever position of defending champions in Premier League history. So we've got that to live with. But maybe if he's given that fourth season, and maybe he gets it. I mean, you look at Alex Ferguson. All that time he was at Man United, he actually had 3 or 4 teams because he was reinventing them. As one was getting old and some of the players weren't so good, got rid of them. And he wasn't scared to get rid of big names. Beckham went, etc. If these big names aren't performing or whatever, we need to get them out. We need to maybe grow that cycle. We've got some players in there at the moment that have been with us since the Premier League we won, which was 5-6 years ago. Now, I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be here, but sometimes you have to move on. You can't live in the past. Kyle agrees, though. He says, thank you, Brendan, but it's time to go. Scott says, hello, all. Hope you are well. I've seen the comments on Facebook and cannot believe what I've read. Everyone is allowed opinions and healthy discussions. Yeah, but Scott, some Leicester fans think the sun shines out their arse, like Daz. And he can't debate it. He's just got to come on and go, yeah, that's stupid, because they don't have the brain cells to come on and have a debate about it. Beyond the 90, Neil, how the devil are you? In the words of Jose Mourinho, I prefer not to speak. Yes, Neil, yes. I'm doing very well, thank you. I am doing very well. David S., good evening. How the devil are you? Good afternoon. Oh, well, Chris, whatever his reason for not coming on, we will discuss both sides of the question. I'm Brendan in, but I have questions on his stubbornness, though. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he is perfect. Far from it. I mean, let's have a look. Let's have a look at Nigel Pearson. He was stubborn. Don't we know it? But look what he achieved for us. He wasn't perfect. Far from it. And he was stubborn. Look how long we were sat at the bottom of the Premier League because he was changing things left, right, and centre. He wouldn't try. Brighton, he wouldn't play. It took him a while to sort of put club before his beliefs, I believe, I think. Brendan stays for me. Yes, he has made some strange decisions, but let's be realistic. He's had a real hard time this season trying to find the team to play the way he wants to. So is the standard if we're not in a relegation battle, it's good? No, but let's not forget we are not, and we never will be a top 6 club. For us to be a top 6 club, we need one of those clubs to drop out. Otherwise, if they carry on being good, but we've got to take it realistically. Kyle, last year there was probably only us and West Ham that were probably battling for that 4th, 5th place. This year, you've got to add in Spurs and Arsenal are back. West Ham are still in there. Brighton have not been so bad. Wolves are coming up. Other clubs are playing the same game as we are. We're going to come on later as to, who you think you would get in that would do a better job. David, hello, Neil. He made some very good points for and against. That's Neil. Neil knows what he's talking about. And so he tells me whenever I speak to him. Chris, what do you think Top will make of LCFC and Rodgers? He's not going to go Top. I mean, look at the commitment he's making to the ground and the surrounding areas. Football moves quickly. It certainly does. I would agree with that. Like I say, that's Daz. Yeah, just do one, Daz, will you? Do us all a favour and go back under your rock. Kyle, but not that quickly. Have won less games than Burnley all season. I think, Kyle, check the table. I mean, let me just go and check this for you, Kyle, because if you are going to say something, let's just check what you're saying here. I'm getting the table up. Now, Leicester City have won 7 games. Burnley have won 2. Now, correct me when I'm wrong. I'm old. I've not been to school for a long time. But I do believe 7 is more than 2. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I heard the same thing for Pearl. Care for what you wish for. Yep. And in that case, it worked out because the owners had a plan. But Pearl hadn't just won us the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and got us 2 top 5 places. Rich from Eagle Eye, hello. I say give Rodgers 1 more season. You've had a lot of injuries this year. Foxy, sorry, Brad, you've come and gone. Sorry, mate, I was just going through this. I'm still here if you're coming on. Brendan in, quite right as well. Ignore Daz, Chris. Even though we disagree, we can do it in a respectful way. Indeed, we can. However, it is time to leave Rodgers. Thank you for your service. Like I say, I was having this chat to actually let these Rodgers out people want to come on. I mean, it's an open link. If anybody wants to come on, just ask to come on and I'll post the link. It is not a problem at all. We're all here to have an adult debate. If you can't handle different opinions nicely, find another station. Indeed. Brad, I can see you. I'll bring you in 1 second, mate. Successful managers in the Premier League era, Fergie, Wenger, Pep, Klopp, all they have one thing in common, longevity. All due respect, football has moved on since that point. It's almost 35 years ago. And Rodgers out. He's been awful in the Prem since the beginning of the year. For me, Scott says, Topper said it all in his pre-match comments before Randers. I believe he said that he had his doubts and wanted to find out what was going wrong, but felt the team and Brendan showed plenty of, we will never know, or here we go, fight and passion. Kyle, huge difference competing with top 6 club and being happy with just staying up. Well, how dare you critique me, Chris? Sorry, Neil. Sorry. Won't do it again. Past achievements don't mean anything. Look at Puel. What did he achieve? Remind me. St Etienne have just sacked him, by the way. Spencer, Brennan has to say LCFC won't get better. I'm not sure what you mean there, Spencer. Hayden, good evening. How are you? He's been waiting patiently. Let me just bring him in now and say hello to Brad. Good evening, Brad.
Good evening, Chris. I just realised you're sat on your lonesome and I thought, I can't have that. You'll go insane.
Well, to be honest with you, I when I invited you on before, I forgot we're doing the prediction show at 9 o'clock as well, and you probably have enough of me. But Jason, who was supposed to be coming on to be the one that wanted it out and who sort of started this whole thing, it made me a bit horrible of me to say chickened out, but he's not turned up. So
well, just like the rest of the front out, but great. Only turn up behind the keyboard. I'm joking, people. I'm joking.
Well, it's gone a bit mad in the comments. Hayden carries on and says Rodgers out. He has to go. And yet I meant Rodgers. I kept remembering how bad Puel was. And Ant says Dave Rennie got sacked. Our injuries go to pot more than bad luck. Quite possibly. Kyle, past achievements mean not much when you look at Claudio. Indeed, agreed with you on that point. I meant Ranieri and even Pearson. I'm going to bring these points up because these are the points I did, which I was going to put across if we have the debate, Brad, which we're going to have a debate without the person that was coming on to debate. But hey, Jason, don't let that bother you. So this is the manager win percentage. Nigel Pearson, in his first time with us, got 51.4%. Martin Allen got 50%. Mind you, he was only here a brief time. So, but Brendan Rodgers is our third most successful manager on win ratio at 48.95.
There has to be. There's a name missing off that. Where's Martin O'Neill?
His win rate wasn't that good, believe it or not. I don't think.
Well, I suppose my sources for the argument when I was doing the big Brendan Rodgers Claudio debate, Wikipedia was not that reliable because it was up 50%.
Was it? Well,
at the time I took them stats down, I didn't include Martin Allen in my calculations because of games in charge, but him and Brendan were the only Leicester managers to have a 50% win ratio at that point.
To be honest with you, I took it off Wikipedia as well. But there are several pages. So I bow to the fact that I've just got one open here. Martin O'Neill. No, I see. I've got on here his win rate was actually 38.29%.
That sounds ridiculously low for considering how well we did under his tenure.
222 games, 85 won. It does. No, I agree. It sounds, but I mean, as I say,
well, I'm surprised not to see. You look at all them names and you're thinking Sven-Goran Eriksson has a better win percentage than Martin O'Neill, but here we are.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, a few of them names you have to take with a pinch of salt, i.e., Craig Shakespeare.
You do.
And Allen.
Yeah, you do. Of course, you do. But that I'm sorry. We've both sort of gone onto Wikipedia. Must have seen different pages. I've got it up here now. But I'm not arguing that it does actually seem low. And when I'm copying and pasting, I wasn't particularly thinking who might be missing, but you do make a very good point. Hope you had a good birthday, David. Hope it went well. We've done these now. Ant says, go for win percent from this season. I'd be interested to see. One season, how dare you leave off the legend Craig Levine, Chris, all-time best LCFC manager. Excuse me, Neil, you're forgetting Ian Holloway. 1 to Forest was the final straw. Yep, and I will take that into account. But look, this is what Brendan Rodgers has achieved with us in about three years he's been with us. 2 fifth place finishes, 2 consecutive seasons in Europe, first ever FA Cup win, 2nd Community Shield win. You can see he's won 70 of his 143 games with us. Nigel Pearson 80, Brian Little 81. Do you know? I mean, I just don't know. Causes for concern, though, I will accept. Constant changes of defence personnel and formation. Although when we look at his injuries in a minute, you wonder whether it's down to him or he goes in on a Saturday morning saying, "Right, guys, who's fit?" Shit, I've only got this. I'm going to work around this. The zonal defending of corners, which is now changed. The Forest lost, as you said there, Chris. European exit and some very, very questionable substitution. So, yes, they are causes for concern. But look at all the injuries we've had this season. In defence, Bertrand, Vestergaard, Evans, Fofana, Soyuncu, Castagnet, Ranieri, Justin, Thomas. Midfield, and thanks to Brad for reminding me about Barnes, as well as Madison, KDH, Ndidi. And up front, Daka was injured for a bit. Vardy. I mean, we don't think of that, do we, Brad? Because he doesn't come out ever and blame. Oh God, I've had all these injuries. Not like Klopp. Somebody, breaks the toenail in Liverpool's and he's screaming on the BBC about it.
I mean, Klopp once blamed the weather and the length of grass for Alexander-Arnold not being able to cross the ball properly. So that doesn't stand too much while in stability. But yeah, I get what you mean, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe Brendan's been a bit too nice and a bit too honest than the lads are, and it's strangely something that's not looked upon in a good way in football. It seems that if you come out and give excuses, you're justifying your actions, but when you come out and don't let them excuses be your reasoning for losses, it's, well, you're a bad manager then. Oh, I tell you what, I tell you what, anybody here in the comment section, right? I want you to honestly answer me this question. You have 2 months, right, of work, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you do for a job, right? And each day you have no alternative due to illnesses, due to sickness or whatever, to have a different team in front of you every day. Every day you've got to have the same. You have different 4 people working for you every day to do whatever it is your job you're doing, right? And because over the last 2 years you had the same team and you were flying, you was doing really well, and you was top of your sector or whatever, right? Would you say it'd be fair of your boss to expect you to get the same results and expectations and achieve the same outcome with the same with having to work with different people every single day that's beyond your control? Because if you are, then by all means take the Leicester job. And why are you not a billionaire? And why are you sat on Facebook watching us if you're a billionaire? Because I don't understand how people can easily just seemingly go, results, bang, bye, see you later, Brendan. If you can tell me that you can successfully keep your sector running at its one, no, you're not allowed to drop any, not even a percentage are you allowed to drop in loss of earnings, by the way, right? Can you do it? If you're answering yes, I'm calling bullshit, or you're a billionaire and wasting your time on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you can prove to me that you'd be that successful.
Agreed. I mean, Yeti Boy there says, what he has done this season, though, these are all past achievements. Well, let me have a look. Let me tell you something.
Are we talking about last season's achievements, or are we talking about 30 years ago achievements? Come on.
I presume he's talking about last season. I know. I'm guessing. I can see where you're going.
I hate that when people say, oh, it's past achievements. It's past achievements. Well, it's not 30 years ago. That's past achievements.
Yeah. I mean, we are turning into, if we're not careful, Arsenal fans here.
Yeah.
Who are going out and saying, we should be in the Champions League. We deserve to be. We're always in the Champions League. We should be in the Champions League. We don't want to be in the Conference League because we're always in the Champions League. Guess what? You weren't good enough. And you have those seasons, and Arteta's turning it round slowly. Yeti, let me ask you about Jurgen Klopp. And I'd say, Brad, he's a good manager, isn't he, Brad? Whatever we think about him, he's a good manager.
You can't deny what he's doing at Liverpool, what he's been winning since he's been there.
Yeah. So, one season, he came in, and he won everything, basically. He won the FA, the League, the World Club Championships, the Champions League. The next season, he didn't win a thing. And yet, the Liverpool board didn't go, well, hang on. We won about 8 trophies last season. We haven't got one this season. Well, let's get Klopp out. He's useless.
Yeah, suddenly he can't do his job.
Yeah. Nigel Pearson. Let's have a look at Nigel Pearson. And most people are now finally giving him the credit he probably deserved. As much as Claudio won it for us, Nigel definitely put the foundations in place.
Yeah.
But should we not have sacked him when we lost to Watford in the playoff semi-final? We should have sacked him because it was failure. It was failure. Let's sack him. Hang on. If we sacked him, we wouldn't have probably the best season as a club. We broke all records next season in getting promotion. I mean, football. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, Brad. Football isn't a case of because you finish 5th one season, you finish 5th the next season. Because you finish 12th one season, you finish 12th the next season. Teams change, don't they? And teams move around. Yes. And we've had 2 very, very good seasons. And we're having a difficult season. Now, somebody here says about Rob Tanner. Kyle says, also when reports come out from Rob Tanner saying he went against scouts to get Vestergaard and Bertrand. Okay, did he?
Hold on.
You're taking the reports. Sorry, let me just say this, Brad. Sorry. You're taking the reports there of Rob Tanner. I've nothing against Rob Tanner. I've spoken to Rob Tanner. He's done a thing for my channel. But he doesn't know everything. I mean, I could go on thing and say like Brendan Rodgers, was caught streaking the other night. It doesn't make it true, but I can go and report it. An ex-player, and Rob Tanner, as far as I know, has never been a player. An ex-player, Clinton Morrison, said on BBC at the weekend, do not judge Brendan this season judge him, as I said in that BBC thing I did, judge him when he's got a full strength team.
Yeah, I'll put it another way to people as well. Is that not the manager's job to make the final call on a decision? For instance, let's put it this way, Chris. Let's just say, and this is a true example. Chris will back me up on this because this has actually happened. Chris has said to me, "Oh, Brad, what do you think of this for a background idea for a new video?" And I maybe have gave either input. But if I go to Chris, "Here, mate, just have a look at this because I've designed this. What do you think of it?" And Chris goes, "I'll give it a thought. I like it." And then if Chris messages me, being says, and I know you're not my boss, so as much to say, but I work for you and your channel and do content, right? I don't have the divine right then to suggest that just because I've come up with an idea, you can't go, "I like the idea, however, I'm going to stick with my original design, Brad, because I just think it does better for what I need it for." So what? Well done, mate. Okay, fair enough. I'm still going to come at you with ideas. No issues, mate. It's your channel. You do what you like. I don't think, the chief scout went, "Well, we know you need defensive issues, Brendan. We know that's what you've asked us to do. We've scouted Tom Smith." I'm just making up a name, obviously. It's a common one. "We've scouted Tom Smith, but we think he'd cost 25 million and and all the facts and the reasons and figures they'd give him." And he's gone, "Okay, I have been looking at a cheaper option in Vestergaard. Given our financial status, Vestergaard's Premier League experience, I'm leaning towards the idea, but I will look at, some facts and make a decision then." Yeah. Brendan's the manager. It's his job. He has that final say, right? Guess what his scouting team's job is to do? Find him players that he can go, "Well, you know what? I didn't think about him. Yeah, that's a really good option. I didn't know about him. You've done your research like I asked you to. Like you, funny enough, they get paid to do. Yes, we're going to go with that option over the one I had because that's a better inquest." I don't understand why you're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I don't know why they're doing it. And you see, well, it's easy. The negative press are out. It's easy to twist something and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, just so you know, Brendan Rodgers picked Vestergaard sign." Well, bloody hope so. I'd hope his scout isn't making contract negotiations behind his back and bringing in players that Rodgers doesn't know who he is. I'd hope Rodgers is having the final say. Just because Vestergaard isn't having a brilliant season doesn't mean he's well within his rights. I mean, you wouldn't. It's funny that I don't think Rob Tanner would be reporting about Vestergaard being a Rodgers signing if he was having a good season.
No, probably not. And as well, you've got to give Vestergaard, I mean, as David says there, yeah, we lose players to AFCON, so have other teams, but they've not had anywhere near the injuries we did. Like I say, Sky mentioned it as well, even surprise, over the weekend. I mean, you say here, Yeti, the injuries are just an excuse. He causes the injuries by overplaying people when they are injured. Oh my God. I mean, Yeti, you're entitled to your opinion, and I totally respect your opinion. But Maddison was injured, brought him back. He played 20 minutes. Next game, I think he played 45 minutes. You can't say Rodgers overplays players because they've got injured.
You're almost making it sound like Rodgers is now suddenly going around 2-footing them on training ground pitch. Come on. I appreciate the fact that you're Rodgers out, and you do give me some great comments on Twitter, Yeti. Very fond of you as a Leicester fan, but come on, mate. You might be Rodgers out. I can accept that, but don't start just, that's like saying, that's like saying, "Oh, well, I was late for work because the bus broke down and it's the bus driver's fault it broke down." You can't blame the bus driver for the bus breaking down. You can't blame a manager for doing it, because at the end of the day, I feel like Brendan's one of them managers that if his staff had come to him, and the players, because he listens to his players and clearly talks to his players, you hear that from the way they are with him. If they had said, "Look, Gaffer, I have to admit, this training session, when we do this particular drill or something, it's quite intense. I feel myself cramping up a lot. Is there anything I'm doing wrong, or is there anything that we could do with the training session?" I'm sure they'll listen to him. At the end of the day, we're just in a situation where we're not the only club that's getting injuries, and you say it's not an excuse. Again, Yeti, give me a spreadsheet. Prove to me that you went 2 months running a company, having different people be in that position every day, and you had 100% success ratio. If you do that, you're in the wrong. You're in the wrong position, mate. Because there's no way you can be that successful. Liverpool was 7th of their injuries last season. Probably is lower down than that. right? Some silly fans wanted Klopp out. They ended up propelling themselves to third when they had their injured players back. But apparently, not having injured players is not a valuable excuse.
Yeah.
Do your research a little bit into other clubs first, compare us to.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, I do, respect your opinion because football is all about opinions. But yeah, you can't say it's an excuse. You really, really can't. I mean, Brad, my thoughts on much the same as yours on Vestergaard. But when I sat down and looked at it, and I needed somebody else to tell me this actually, because I kind of had just been so fed up with him and the way he performed. But he literally came into a team that had no defense because of the injuries. He didn't know week in, week out who is going to be playing. Who are you? I've not played with you before. Oh, I'm Jan. How are you doing? And you can't build a defence on that sort of thing. And what we're saying, like, is Rodgers going to play a back 3 or a 4 or 5 this week? Well, I think he goes in, like I say, on match day and says, "Put your hand up if you're not injured." Like you and you. Oh, after a plaque 3, I've only got 3 defenders.
Yeah.
So,
and you'll probably find that one of them still got their arm up because it's in a cast, so they can't move it.
That is very true. Somebody said
another
earlier.
Another thing about Vestergaard, right? Again, let's discuss the reasoning behind the signings and let's look at Vestergaard in depth as a signing. He was 15 million, and Leicester have the following defenders available to them when fully fit: Wesley Fofana, Johnny Evans, Daniel Amati, indeed, if needs be, I guess, Kaglar Soyuncu. But that's 4 solid centre-backs they have available to them if they're fully fit. You then add Jan Vestergaard into it. Now, before Wesley Fofana had his leg broken, right? And I believe that was our last pre-season friendly, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? So not only did we then have to make an emergency signing to be a backup centre-back, we ended up having to get a backup centre-back to have essentially, at a push, 2 weeks, probably not even that, of training, getting to know Brendan, the team, his teammates, how Leicester defend, how he's needed to play, and play beyond his means of what we brought him in for. We did not spend 15 million to have him as a starting centre-back. We had him in there to rotate through the busy periods, play cup games, and step in for injuries. He was never, ever expecting, I don't think there's an ounce of him that thought, realistically, without realising the state of our injuries, that he was going to start against Wolves at the King Power in August. And I think he's played more football than he thought he would get at Leicester through that circumstances. So is Vestergaard a bad signing for 15 million? No, not really, because he's just had to play more football than is expected for him because of what he was brought in.
It's early days yet, and we say about Perez, but Perez has been here 3 seasons now. We're not.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook user makes a point there. David Rennie leaving. I mean, you've got to look at it and say when David Rennie was there, we didn't have this many injuries.
Lawrence, I will take that back in as well. Does anyone remember when they were crying about Steve Walsh getting pinched by Everton and we still managed to keep our scouting things going?
Yes.
So doesn't matter about the staff.
If you speak to an Everton fan, and I have done actually, he said Steve Walsh's signings and recommendations that they know of were absolutely dire at Everton, and that's part of the problem with where they are now. Trust the process, Lawrence. Yeah, we definitely are sounding like Arsenal fans now. Kyle, Brad, that analogy would work if it wasn't like Brendan Rodgers fed them laxatives in efforts. Rob Tanner said he rejects the strength and conditioning side and sacked Dave Rennie. Like I say, you read one paper, you believe that. You read another paper the same day, completely different side, you believe that. So,
I'm happy to know, Carl. Thank you very much. So my analogy would work if that wasn't the view you had on him. Thanks very much. I'd appreciate that, actually. So cheers, Kyle.
Kyle does go on to say Jurgen Klopp finished 3rd with the worst injury crisis than us. As Brad said earlier, though, they came back towards the end of the season and they actually
I'm
moved
not,
up
and
the
again,
table.
I'm not trying to compare that we'll do
but
what
Liverpool are
did.
not comparable to Leicester. But Kyle, you want to sack a manager that's not getting us into the top 5 for a third season running. So I think Liverpool are comparable to Leicester, that according to your arguments, because that's where we should be. So who do we compare ourselves to then? Please inform me, because you're saying we shouldn't be mid-table. You're saying we should be in the challenging again. Well, that is Liverpool. That's where Liverpool are.
I'll tell you what then. To everybody who's Brendan Rodgers out, right, get your comments in here now. Let's get the comments on. And before that, make sure you hit the like button. But get comments now. If I was to give you a hindsight future thing, right, given Brendan Rodgers' track record at Leicester of what he's done with us in the past, making it sound like 20 years ago, right, let's just say this is what happens. Would you still be Rodgers out if Leicester finished 10th but won the Europa League Conference?
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, that's a European trophy. That's a backdoor into Europa League, which is where Leicester have been for the past 2 seasons anyway, and would still be top half. Would you then go, okay, then, considering everything that's on board, I'm happy with that season? Or would you still be going, that's not good enough because we didn't finish high in the league?
Yeah.
I put it out there, and I'm interested to see if people go, if he did that, I would change their mind or still define
Henry says here, apparently Rodgers has made a vow to owners to turn things round. Of course he is. Of course he is. And you go to Pep Guardiola and say, you've just lost the Spurs. Oh, I'll turn things around for next game, boss. It goes with what they're saying. Yeti, his signings were terrible at Liverpool. He can't be trusted signing players when we have one of the best scouting teams in Europe. Didn't he sign Coutinho? Am I getting that wrong? That is a genuine question, because
I think he did actually.
I think he signed Coutinho, who wasn't a bad player for Liverpool, and they
sold him for a record price.
I'm going to say they made a bit of money on him, didn't they? Facebook user in. Hayden, I get where you're coming from, but we bottled Champions League position twice. After that, yes, we won the FA Cup, the Community Shield. After that, we were 11th, 15 points off 6th and 9 points off the relegation zone. I don't, Hayden, again, as I say, I respect what you're saying, but I do not like this term bottle it. Do you, Brad?
No, I don't, because it almost comes with a sense of arrogance that we should achieve it. We're a club that, there's a reason that top 6 get all the franchise money talk on Sky, BT, Amazon, bloody whatever channel they're on all over the world. And that's because it is insanely difficult, not only for a team to break that up, but do it on a consistent basis. We're talking about 6 sides in the Premier League. The reason every so often you find a little bit of hype on Sky for a few months about a team like Wolves, about a team like West Ham, about a team like Leicester and Brighton, etc., is because it's so very rare, and it's even rarer that they maintain it throughout the season, that the strength of the top 6 is just educated from it. It's just stretched even further. It's so much more difficult to do. And I think saying, bottled 4th, okay, did anybody genuinely sit there thinking we are ready, we have earned the merits and won the things and the consistency to suggest we are a top 4 side? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, we went promoted 14th, 1st, 9th, 11th, 5th this season. It's got to be something like that. So tell me, apart from winning the league, when have we ever justified being a top 4 club?
Yeah.
You can't just do it once and then justify it, because if that's the case, then Norwich City are a massive Premier League club because they once finished 3rd.
I mean, as well, Man United, we said, pre-Ferguson, they were Spurs Arsenal. Now they're just a Spurs Arsenal again. When they had Fergie, they were good. Forgetting the fact that he nearly got sacked early on, there were seasons when he didn't win anything.
Sorry,
there were seasons, you're so used to him winning titles, but you forget there were seasons there when he didn't win anything. But they didn't sack him. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if this was this time next season and we're still in this same position, I would be having a different conversation totally. Do not get me wrong. I would definitely. We might be getting Jason on, by the way, just to say he's been having internet problems, so he might be coming on.
He's just gone out and bought a gerbil from Pets from Home to power his Wi-Fi.
Probably, but so yeah, I'm not saying he's the second coming, is Jesus or whatever. And like I said, who would we get that would be any better than that?
Exactly. And again, you just made a very, very brilliant point there, mate. If this was this time next year and Leicester are still struggling, then you go, okay, he's done this time. He has earned. We gave him that leeway. We gave him this year. It's not working out. Clearly, he's no longer the man for the job. Sorry, Brendan. Thanks for everything. Then you move on. The same way as fans should maybe look at. They like to suddenly turn this past achievements from being a great thing to a thing of concern. But maybe say, well, we know what he can achieve. If we have a fully fit squad next year, maybe he can achieve that again. And maybe we give him the leeway instead of just going, oh, it's old news, it's old news. We won the FA Cup years ago. You're making it sound, you know what I mean? I don't understand how it's suddenly become a negative and it's suddenly like ancient history that we won a trophy, which, well, we won it like less than 8 months ago. Our last bit of silverware.
I'm going to say hello to Jason. I do, mate. I apologise.
Oh, no, Kyle, come on. That's not true.
I'm going to ask Jason, and I apologise for saying you chickened out, Jason. It was your internet that was giving you trouble. I thought it came down to the crunch, and so apologies for that. Apologies for what I said. So welcome along. I'm just going to hit you with this first question here. Perez, 30 million, better signing than Vestergaard for 15? Surely not.
It's absolutely joke.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you were the one that sort of kind of got me going down this track. We've had sort of 40 odd minutes here of me and Brad saying, no, Brendan in. Let's give you a chance to say why you think he should be sacked. And I guess you're saying sacked now.
Well, look, I mean, don't get me wrong, Brendan, when he came into the club, he did very well. Give him credit that he has built, Leicester quite well. But, it comes a time where, you look at the season, at the beginning of the season, even the pre-season was really, really poor. And then he's came in, and I know that we've won the FA Cup and we keep on hearing that. But then you look on where we are at now. We're looking at the table now and we're all looking at thinking, oh, my God, we're looking for 40 points. You look from last year, if you would have said we either won the FA Cup and been quite high up in the league, which one would you have really wanted? I would probably choose, obviously, being high up in the league. At the moment, we're not winning anything. And when do we have to call it a day? Because week in and week out, we're just losing. It's the most stupidest tactics. Look at Vestergaard when he brought on Vestergaard. Look at Sayunchu. I know we've got a lot of injuries, but then we should be winning games with the team that we've got. If that makes sense, it's kind of like as if it's irritating because we see some fans saying, oh, we've got loads of injuries. It seems to be this blanket over the team to say, we kind of. Hold on, I think I might have lost you. Are you still there?
We can hear you. You're not moving, but we can hear you. So do carry on.
Yeah. So it seems to be this blanket, you see, thrown over the team. Well, we're not winning games because we've got loads of injuries. And it's so frustrating to keep on seeing this because the team that we've got, we should still be winning games.
Even with all the players out.
Yeah, but then you look at Forest. You take you back to the Forest game. Them players we still should have won that game, even with those players. and it's not like we've got really poor players as well. It's just when you've got players that are underperforming, but also it then comes down to the manager. If those players are not performing how they should be, then it comes down to the manager. At the end of the day, it's just for me personally, you look at some other managers, they just simply wouldn't have it. And then, it's kind of, what do you do? I mean, do you get rid of the whole of the 11 players who don't really want to, who are underperforming? You've got Tillemans who don't even want to be at the club. So what do you do? I mean, do you when he says about rebuilding the squad, are we talking, we're going to be throwing a lot out? Unfortunately, you can't get rid of the whole of the team. So, it comes down to a point where you kind of start looking at the manager and think, what, does he hang his T-shirt up now and, walk away? I mean, it's just, I think we can all say it's really frustrating right now. And we don't want to be...
I mean, I would agree with you there. He is, and I did call him Brendan Bellend, and I'm not going to deny it after the substitution that he made against West Ham. But he stands and falls by his decisions. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. And if players aren't playing for him, he gets the players out and get players in that will do. But I think, Brad, you said earlier about, when Liverpool last season didn't have all the, had a load of injuries and were struggling down in 7th. And I agree. If we've got through 2 seasons like this, let's question it. At the moment, we're not in a relegation battle. If that changes towards the end of the season, then that decision is made then. I mean, we're not in a relegation battle. It's only been, let's say August, September, October, November, December, January. It's been 7 months that it's been like this. And surely, like I say, any other manager, or not every other manager, I that's wrong, because if you're a Watford manager, it doesn't apply. But most sensible boards would give the manager and say, yes, okay, but this is what he has achieved. He's having a bad time now. Let's have a look why. Yeah, let's give him a bit longer to see if he can do it. And Brad, like I said earlier, this time next season, same position, it's a different conversation altogether.
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to point something out to other fans that are watching, right? Right now, Leicester in a bad run. No two ways about it. We are. But when you think of the last 2 seasons on a whole, right? The first season, we had losses to Bournemouth. We had losses to bloody Fulham and teams like that. But because they happened in between decent little runs with a fully fit side, nobody really batted an eyelid. But I would say losing to them teams, like you've just said there, Jason, like no other managers would stand for it. Well, they did, because it happens to every club. I remember infamously Bournemouth wiping the floor with Chelsea 3-0. Glenn Murray, of all people, scoring goals. I've seen Watford beat Liverpool, the first team to do it. Burnley beating Manchester United. It happens, and sometimes it's just not as noticeable or not red flagged as much when the team's going, oh, I can't believe we lost to 18, and then they go and win 7 on the bounce, or don't lose in 7, and it's not such a bad thing. But well, it happens, don't always turn up, you have to let it go. But every season, I feel like the Leicester fans are almost hungry for an excuse to lay the blame and say it's all Rodgers' fault. We finished 5th. Is that not good enough? We finished 5th. Wasn't good enough. We're struggling with injuries. Well, it's Rodgers' fault. He's going out 2-footing people and he's injuring our players on purpose and booting them down the road and kicking crap out of them. I would look at it a different way. And I would say when Puel was on a bad run, we never looked like winning. Never looked like getting out of it. When Ranieri had that disastrous following season, he couldn't pick a lineup. He couldn't pick his nose, let alone a formation and a lineup consistently. And he didn't have any injuries. Right? They lost it. He lost the dressing room. You could tell they lost the dressing room. Every manager that has ever lost his job at Leicester, at some point you went, that's where he's lost the dressing room. Since that debacle of the FA Cup, where I probably started to question whether he had the dressing room or not, we got robbed by West Ham and robbed by Wolves. We should have had a penalty against Wolves. He might as well have jugged it in the net, and the Dawson goal against West Ham. I have seen 2 unfortunate performances and only come away with a point and thinking we really should have got more points than that. And they are not playing like a side that does not believe in their manager. That's my only thing. I would be surprised to be sat here in 3 months' time if Leicester go and beat Burnley, beat whoever they've got after that, beat Randers, beat Burnley, beat Norwich, beat whoever in that race, and all of a sudden people are forgetting it because Leicester are back up to about 8th or 9th, 4 points off the European spots. Football is a very fickle game and it can change on a pendulum. It was all high and mighty when we were 3rd, 2nd, and 4th, and then everybody seemed to burn away. I mean, last point, I even turned around to you, Chris, didn't I, and said I'd almost like for Leicester to have a season where they kind of mix it up a bit and they go like win a few, lose one, win a few, draw, lose, and we have a balanced out season instead of keep having 2 seasons where we're 2nd, 1st, 3rd, and then drop all the way to 5th. Well, maybe this is the one where we do it in reverse and a bit balanced out.
But Brad, do you not think that this is a bit of a pattern? You see, the last 2 seasons we have been seriously injury prone, right? We've been, it seems to be, the club's depth as well. I mean, every time we're in Europe, and nothing ever works out for us because we are so injury prone as well. But it seems to be a bit of a pattern. We seem to have these blips. It was only last year that we was all saying, oh, well, these are the games that we should have been winning. And we said this at the end of last season. And now, we for some odd reason, we seem to be always in the position where, these are the games that we should have won. We've got to get over that. But it just feels this season is very different. For some reason, for me, it just feels some of these players do not want to be playing for Rodgers because when they're on that field, and we all say this, sometimes it's like, what is the point in that player being on that field? It's really difficult and it's very frustrating for a lot of City fans because, our club has been built over the years, and you know what? We're all really proud of Leicester City, no doubt about it. But it comes to a certain point, we don't want to be dropping off. Now, I was thinking the other day, and I thought, is it because people don't want Rodgers out purely based on because they are worried that we are going to be, back in on where we was a few years ago on rebuilding our club? Are they worried that if Rodgers are not there, then players are not going to be coming in? I just think, I'd probably at the push is give him until the end of the season. See where we are then. And if we are getting, we've got a fair few games still to play, but at the end of the season, if we are losing consistently and nothing is changing, where do we draw the line, guys?
I know what you're saying. For me, if we go down the Watford line, which is like sacking the manager with 3 games to go because he's just got us out the relegation zone. If we're going down that line, we're going to bring a new manager in. Let's say when we haven't got a game. Let's say we lose 5-0 to Randers and they knock us out. Ant, sorry, I'll just turn to Ant. Thanks very much, mate, for becoming a member. It means a real lot to me. Thank you so much for your support. Roger's out. Good, mate. Take care, bud, and thank you for becoming a member. So we bring a new manager in. We might get a new manager bounce for 1 game, 2 games, but he's going to look at the team and go, right, you're not my sort of player. No, I don't like you. You're not good enough. You're not my sort of player either. And suddenly you've got more changes in a team and they're playing maybe out of position. He maybe plays a different formation, a different style to Brendan. And the players are suddenly going, what we're doing? How do we do this? And then we get to the summer and we've stayed up. We finished 10th and maybe gone semi-finals or something in the conference. So we've not had a disastrous season for Leicester, And we've got to remember we are not Man City, as I think some fans think we are. And we sat Rodgers in the summer and said, well, it wasn't good enough. I know you did all that well for us, but 1 bad season, we're going to get rid of you. Bring in a new manager. So we've got to pay compensation to Rodgers. And this is from owners who have really struggled with the COVID, and because of the business doing. We saw that in the January transfer window, and we saw that, I think, also when we bought Vestergaard. I think, if you'd have gone out and if we had 30 million, I honestly believe we'd have probably got Tarkowski, but we haven't got that sort of money. So he comes in, a new manager comes in the summer, rips up basically everything that Brendan's done for 2 years, starting again. That's just 2 years wasted. Give him till the end of the season, because a new manager comes in, he hasn't got any hasn't got any transfer window, so he can't bring players in. Let Rodgers finish, because I say bring a new manager in, we might get a couple of games bounce, but give him the summer to rebuild, because like I say, that's what the good managers do. That's what Fergie did, that's what Wenger did, but most managers don't get a chance to stay anywhere long enough to do that. And then come, say, this time next year, or December, because we're going to have the break for the World Cup, and you got the transfer window in January. In December, if we're sat down in 15th, 16th, 17th, then it's a different decision. It's a different argument totally.
I mean,
Kyle says here, Kyle says here, why does it have to be ripped up? Because it's a new manager coming in. And Rodgers hasn't done everything. Rodgers is not looked and go, bloody hell, Prell, that was brilliant what Prell did. Oh, great, I was going to carry on doing that. No, he tweaked it. Did Claudio, when he come in, go, yeah, you know what the Pearson did? It was 100% no, spot on. No, he took it and he tweaked it a bit. So we're not going to just carry on. We are going to have changes.
And another thing maybe we should all do as Leicester fans. Sorry, Jason. This will be a shorter point than Chris's essay there. But no, can we also take into the fact that maybe we should give a little bit of credit to the rest of the Premier League? Because for 2 seasons, maybe Wolves were the only side that could really sort of compete with Leicester's financial bid against trying to muscle in on the top 6. But because Leicester were the first team to really do it and then make a name for ourselves, we became more appealing to other players. But I've noticed this season, I'll just go through them. Arsenal re-strengthened. Brighton strengthened up to progress their club. Wolves have added to their club in over the last 2 years. West Ham have strengthened their club. Southampton have now had an investment. Everton had an investment. We are talking 6, 7, 8 clubs that have looked at Leicester. Hang on, I want a bit of that myself. I want my club spoken like that. So we can also give a little bit of credit to saying we're not playing the same teams that we were beating 9-0, beating 2-0 away at home. We're not playing a team that's no longer struggling. We're playing a team that, we're playing teams that are now also progressing. Sorry, I missed them off this. Aston Villa. We're not playing teams that are the whipping boys of the division for everybody else. We're playing teams that have their own ambitions and also want to progress. So they're investing money. They're buying players. They're trying to improve their facilities. They're trying to improve their squads. And they're now also probably on paper still behind Leicester, but are benefiting from that flux of what it gives you. And there is also, a big thing. We're talking about a big statement made by Ricardo Pereira, a player that was here when we won the league, who was signed under that season. He still talks about the close-knit family that no matter who's been in charge, they've managed to keep with new and old faces around. Everybody has brought into the family tight-knit, work for each other, brothers in arms feeling. If we do an early 2000s and bring in a Peter Taylor ego, you destroy that. You really do. So,
and Jason, that was Brad being shorter than me.
I know, right? No, that was me being short, mate. Sorry, mate.
Jason, I'll give you a chance to get to say back to the points we've made.
Yeah. So, right, don't shoot me down, but I mean, you've got Newcastle, right? I've been where they've been at the bottom of the league, right? The thing is, when we watch how they've been playing within the last couple of games, we are better than Newcastle without a shadow of a doubt. But you look at them players and they are giving it all. You've got it's so frustrating when you've got Yuri Tillemans. And don't get me wrong, Yuri is such a good player. Madison is fantastic. And you know, it's kind of, where's that hunger? Where's that want? You know, you want to be winning games. When we were playing Forest, it was like as if we were watching a second team. It was just. But there's no hunger.
Just on that point, Jason. I mean, I can't argue with you. The Forest game was a debacle, but we've had those over the years, you know. And I made the point after that we should have played the under-23s that finished the game against Watford when we beat the Premiership team 4-1, but they did better than the first team was that lost to a Championship side 4-1. But we've had these in the past. Newport, Wycombe Wanderers. You know, I could go. You know, we've lost these sort of cup games before. It's what we love about the cup. But one game doesn't define a whole season, does it?
No, absolutely not. No, I completely agree. But his tactics. I mean, I wouldn't trust Vestergaard with a potato gun. It's just awful in the defence, you know. It's like, you know, when you watch him, you literally, when he's on, your heart starts pounding and you think, why would you put him on? I mean, he was the biggest waste of money that anybody could buy. You know, you look at him and you think, well, does it work with Sionchu? You know, we know that Sionchu is having an awful season. We know this. But when you've got the likes of Vestergaard that makes so many mistakes, is it no wonder sometimes the defence is so carnaged? And it's silly tactics when he brings him on. You think, well, we're doing well. You bring Vestergaard on, and before you know it, we've conceded.
I agree on that point. And we did make the point before you came in, though. You know, I'm not Vestergaard's biggest fan by any stretch of the imagination.
Nor am I, just to clarify.
You know, yeah, but we both said he's come into a team that for 2 seasons had a pretty good and solid defence. But remember, with Fofana, he wasn't brought in to go straight into the team. He was brought in to go into the development squad, had to come in because we hadn't got, at that point, we got injuries. But he has, you know, every week he probably goes and on a Saturday, he probably has to be introduced to his teammates. He doesn't know who he's going to be playing with in that back line because he changes because of injuries so many times. So
I think at one point,
I agree. Sorry, Brad. I agree with bringing him on as he did against West Ham was Brendan's mistake. He should not have made a substitution at that time.
Yeah. No, I do agree. And to be fair, I was just about to suggest. I think at one point, Jan Vestergaard must have seen his centre back pairing was Brunt, who was probably just finishing his GCSE exams at that point. So he probably saw him in the changing rooms with his uniform on. I thought, oh, it must be a tour. I didn't realise he was going to be lining up against him. And again, I do stress the point that we did not go out and spend 15 million on a first choice centre back. We did bring Vestergaard in as an emergency. Let's hope the other defenders are fully fit, but if not, we have got option. And that's exactly what Vestergaard's role is at the club. It's just, but I do get it, given the calibre of standards he's playing, even I've expected more from Vestergaard. So I do really understand the bafflement, because I'm one of those, Jason, I do agree with you. I think maybe the panic set in against Spurs and against West Ham, where he's gone, oh, we really need this win, actually. This would be great. The one thing I could do is shore it up. And maybe it was actually kind of nice in a frustrating way that when we were 2-1 down against Wolves, he went, right, I'm going to take my central defensive midfielder off and get an attacker on, because he had to chase the game. And maybe he felt if you keep the impetus. Maybe I've overanalyzed the last 2 games or so since the Forest game. But normally when you lose a game like that, I remember when we lost to Newport, I think we were still pretty tragic in the league afterwards. I don't think we still didn't see any improvement. They weren't like a kick up the arse on a rocket. Yeah. I just feel that if we'd have got better results, like not conceding in the 94th minute against West Ham, and then all of a sudden if you find that equaliser against Wolves, which we would have more than warranted, that maybe Leicester fans would have not been at that point. That it feels like you get on a certain run and you kind of want it needs to end at a certain point in your head. You work it out that, right, it's been 5 games now, we haven't won, we need to get a win out of these next 2 games. And because we haven't got the result, people are bypassing the fact that we actually put in 60 minutes, I'd say, against West Ham and the entire performance against Wolves, which I came out and stated was our best away performance. We completely dominated Wolves, in my opinion. You know, except
even the
for the
Wolves
two
fan I had
strikes.
on said we were the better team.
You know, that at least we're seeing the performances to suggest that they haven't put down the tools like they have with previous managers. That's why I'm just so keen and so more willing, I would say, to stick by Brendan. And I'm thankful that we've got a fan on here that's Brendan out that does say to the end of the season, which is more acceptable. I can understand people saying at the end of the season, because I just think right now it'd be ridiculous. It wouldn't do nobody benefits from it. The players don't benefit.
Just to add in here that we've got a poll going on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, if not, get over to YouTube now and have a vote. And basically, it's Brendan in, out, or can't decide. I was tempted to put shake it all about, but I decided not to. So in, out, and at the moment, in and out off dead level on 45%. So we'll do that at the end of the show. So have a vote if you want. I mean, everybody's saying here about changing the captain. I don't particularly like captains that are goalkeepers.
I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now. The committee will hear about this, Chris. Goalkeepers committee will hear about this slander.
Do you think, you can tell who's the ex-goalkeeper, can't you, Jason? Would that make a huge difference, Jason? I can't see it being, because I mean, I think if you get a captain out there like a Roy Keane these days, half the players would go off crying to their agent saying, "Oh, he picked on me, he bullied me." But I
don't think it would make any difference of the team's performance, to be honest with you.
No.
You know, you could give, listen, I mean, why you would give it Yuri Tillemans, I don't know. A person who is not a captain, he's not a leader. He don't, listen, the only place he wants to lead, and he wants to lead himself out of the club, why on earth would you even want to give it Yuri Tillemans? It's mind-blowing. I don't get it.
I mean, but do you not understand why he wants to go? I mean, he's playing in the number one international team in the world at the moment, Belgium. And
well, I get it.
He wants to play in Champions League, and this is why he hasn't made a decision yet. Because, for example, if Man United come into him, I honestly think if they don't finish in the top four, he will turn down Man United because he will have offers from teams that are in the Champions League. So I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I would still say he's still giving us, he has bad games, of course he does, everybody does, but I think he's still giving it as much as we can expect.
Chris, the thing that because I have a look at the posts quite regularly in the comments, the problem that people have to realise is, unfortunately, real football life is not a dream team. Players will come and go. You know, every player that comes... Yeah, every player that comes into a football club, they want to better themselves. You know, of course they're going to want to be playing in the Champions League. Who wouldn't? And we know players are going to come and go. That's just the way it is. So for me, I can't say I don't blame him for wanting that, because who wouldn't? So we have to accept that. We have to accept it and move on from it.
Maybe it's Brendan's way. I mean, if you believe what you see in the papers, and you either believe Rob Tan, you don't believe. I mean, you basically you read the papers and you take out of that what you want to from whoever the writer is. But
I do have maybe
according to Brendan. Sorry, Brad. According to Brendan, he doesn't even know that he definitely wants to go. Maybe it's his just way of kind of saying, look, fancy being captain in the hope of maybe keeping him a bit longer.
Well, no, he was actually vice captain before. He's actually been vice captain and captain a number of times for Leicester, Yuri Tillemans, over the years, first of all. He's had to step in when Schmeichel's not been picked, so he's clearly a captain. In regards to the captain, though, it's just an interesting thought that I've had. We have been missing one in particular figure for most of this season, and he was a direct replacement for a certain player we kept in the dressing room. I don't like the term of it, but do you feel that Leicester are missing what you'd call a dressing room leader? Because I feel that no matter who you get the captain's armband to, right now, it wouldn't really change too much in the disarray. But do you feel that they're missing that natural calming head? you've got the barking order from Schmeichel and the structure and the keep focus. But do we not miss a Wes Morgan and a Johnny Evans? Is that something that we're vitally missing in the team as well?
Well, we've still got Johnny Evans, haven't we, in the dressing room?
Yeah, but there's a difference, isn't there? There's a difference between having him sat on the bench because he's injured and trying to get him there than having him being able to go up to Soyuncu like he would have probably done at some points this season on the pitch, put his arm around him and go, come on, mate, you've got this. Let's go again. Don't worry about it. Whereas, we've discussed this many times, especially in the season about Soyuncu. When his head goes, he went on a terrible form. A lot of Leicester fans were on his back. Our Leicester maybe needing to not just structurally change their approaches next season in the window for potentials of losing the likes of Tielemans, but do they now need to go out and maybe look for that leader by name more than by armband, if that makes sense? Because I do notice a lot more calmness when we've had a Wes Morgan in his better years and Evans over the last 2 seasons, where we just seem a lot more structurally sound. Maybe that's another issue.
Jason?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think we definitely need that. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a headstrong leader, and you've got to have, if you're 1-0 down, you've got to have someone that's going to come up to you and say, listen, don't worry about it. Mistakes happen. That's it. Let's get on with it. Someone who's going to be calm and collective, but also say to them, listen, let's get on with it. Let's restart again. But we're not got anything like that at the moment. And like Brad said, you've got Schmeichel, the way he goes about things. I wouldn't call him a leader at all. No. And I do agree with Brad on that one.
David, if we don't sell him this summer, we're not going to get a penny for him. And, we've lost a lot of money on a lot of players just recently. Slimani, just to name one, but you could go on. So I'd sooner sell him now, to be honest with you, than keep him, and then we'd lose him on a free. Roger should be the dressing room boss. We need a football pitch boss. Sorry, Brad.
No, I was going to say, I think it's really simple. It'll come down to end of the season. Yuri will go away. They'll go away on the break. They'll come back. He'll still be training with Leicester in the first session because there's no way Leicester will negotiate a sale. And they will literally turn around and go, right, Yuri, we're at the point. Here's the thing. Am I wasting my breath? Do we need to put you on the market and make you available for other clubs to come and approach you? Or is there a chance we can discuss things that makes you put pen to paper on a 3-year deal here, or even a 2-year deal here? Yeah. And I think it'll be very swift. We will either have a new deal and Tielemans will be announced as signing an extension in summer, or he'll be gone before a pre-season game's announced, let alone before they're...
For me, we need to get rid of him really quickly. Give us a chance to get somebody else in. Jason,
well, we already have it, KDH.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean that I've said that, and I think these youngsters coming through, but we'll see. Jason, I want to before we go, I want to just ask you this then: if he goes, seriously, who would you have in, to take over? I mean, you're saying now that he should go at the end of the season. Is that right?
Based on the performances already, I mean, if you take him off now, who do you bring in? Who is available?
Manchester United are struggling to get a manager in, and look what's happened to them. They've got they're Man United, and they can't. Whoever's coming in as manager should be walking over broken glass barefoot to take that job, but they're not. But when we do replace him, who would you have to say? Don't come out and say Pep Guardiola, obviously, but
no, I just don't know. It's got to be someone. It's got to be someone who's got the balls to go in there, and someone who's very loud. Someone to be able to lay the law down with them and say, listen, right, if you're not wanting to play for Leicester, don't be here. Someone to be very vocal. This is the problem. We've got a manager that we see on TV after the game, and it just seems so irritating. Where I just don't know. There's just nothing. It's flat. It's dead. Someone that's just going to come in and say it how it is. If you don't want to be here, someone a bit like Roy Keane, because let me tell you, not one person would probably like Roy Keane. You know what I mean? It's just, I just don't know. It's going to take someone.
I do. I think this is the problem with football clubs, though, as a whole, is, you know, if you listen to the fans too quickly, and I'm not saying fans shouldn't have the voice, but, you know, you can listen to like I said at the start, you weren't here, but when Blackburn Rovers, new owners came in, the Venkies, they listened to the crowd who wanted Sam Allardyce out. He wasn't playing the sort of football they wanted. He went and they got Steve Keane, they promoted him, and they ended up in the 3rd tier. West Ham, they didn't want David Moyes to stay, so they didn't keep him on. He's come back, and look what happened now. That could have been them a couple of seasons ago. And I think if you're saying that you want a manager out, and this is no disrespect to you, Jason, you've got to know who you want. There's got to be that plan. Because managers, you know, when we got rid of Prell, we virtually knew we were going to get Rodgers. Well, the board did, you know, because it was done so quickly. And look at the other extreme, Spurs. They sacked Nuno, but how long did it take to get Nuno in? Sorry, when they sacked Mourinho, they took them ages to find a manager.
I mean, you look at Graham Potter. I mean, look how well he's done for Brighton. You know, it'd be someone who I just don't know. I have no clue, because I don't know who could work with the squad right now. That's why I'd probably, it's hard, and I get what you're saying, and I understand what you and Brad are saying on who would you replace him right now. But with the squad who's just underperforming, you know, who would actually want to come in and take the job right now?
Well, you know, you say that, and I'm just going to say bye to Brad. Thanks very much for being on, Brad. He's got to go. He's back with me at 9 o'clock in 28 minutes, and he needs some food. So, Brad, thanks very much, mate. I'll see you at 9. Jason, but you say that, Jason, but managers do... what's the word I'm looking for? Managers do go to clubs. You say, like, who would take the Watford job? They've never not been able to get a manager, because the managers go to these clubs and they say, okay, here's the contract. Thank you very much. I'm here for 5 years, but I know that if you sack me after 2, you're going to pay me up the 3 and a bit of compensation as well. So really, I
would have fancied someone like, I mean, obviously when he went, I mean, you've got Eddie Howe. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. You know, if we could have got our hands on him, or someone like Graham Potter, I'd take them 2 any day, because, you know, they've done great things.
Now, you see, you know, you wanted to upset me, didn't you? Because you said those 2 words that upset me, which is Graham Potter. And let me. I'm going to reiterate my point on Graham Potter and where I stand on it.
Yeah.
He is a good manager. I'm not disputing that. He isn't a great manager. He hasn't achieved anything yet. Yes, he has in the Swedish league, but look at Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson managed and won, for teams abroad. He hasn't won anything in English football. And what was he like as England manager? So the jury's out on Graham Potter. If Graham Potter gets Brighton into a European place, as you know, as in a top 7 as it is now, I would take my hat off and say, yeah, you've done a good job, mate. Eddie Howe, you're kind of talking to the converted here, because I lived down on the south coast, and I can remember when Bournemouth were in the 4th tier, minus 17 points because they'd gone out of business a couple of times. Then they had points deducted for other things as well. Eddie Howe came in and he took them from that point to being a regular Premier League football player. So I could see the possibility of Eddie Howe. The problem you have is, whatever you say, and as Kyle says here, you know, Leicester is a very attractive proposition to an ambitious manager. And I honestly think that's why we got Rodgers in the first place, because he saw this as a chance to rehabilitate himself in the Premier League. But Andrew says, what is Peter Taylor doing nowadays? Tell you what, you get Peter Taylor, we'll get Junior Lewis as well, so that'll solve the midfield crisis. 2 in 1 there.
But you know what, Chris? There's one thing that City supporters are afraid of. Exactly what he did to Celtic. You know what? Rodgers is one of those. He can simply just walk away because he walked away from Celtic. And I think that's also another thing in my mind. When the going gets tough, will he walk?
Well, I've got to be honest. I know totally where you're coming from. We'll never know 100%, but I honestly think it was Leicester that wanted him in because I think let's face it. When he did come to us, we had 10 games left of that season. He learned more about those players in those 10 games because they were competitive Premier League games than if we played 50 pre-season friendlies. Pre-season friendlies do not tell you anything. They're changed around. There's 2 games at the same time, so it's 2 different teams. They are purely there for fitness. They don't tell you anything about tactics or any players or anything like that. How can you tell if a player's really good when you're playing Stockport County away on a Wednesday? You can't, So I think Leicester said to him, right, if you're going to come, we want you now. The thing that I believe stops him doing that is if he does it twice, because he did it at Celtic, and obviously it was big news that he'd walked out on them. But as I say, I think that was the Leicester wanting him. If he does that again, he's going to get a bit of a reputation for himself, isn't he? And I don't think that's the reputation he wants. My problem is we've got to the stage now where we've got. And the funny thing is, I was speaking to a Wolves fan last night after on the opposition show, and he said that if Bruno was to go, not Nuno, Bruno, the latest one, he would be quite happy if Brendan Rodgers took the job. And I think Brendan Rodgers is seen by some, maybe not Liverpool, but by some fans of other clubs as a better manager than his own fans at Leicester do.
Yeah.
But there we go. And my worry is that we've got this manager now in Brendan Rodgers, who is probably one of the biggest names we've had as a manager because of what he nearly achieved at Liverpool and what he did achieve at Celtic. And I agree there's the argument that there was no Rangers and Celtic, you're going to win things, etc., etc. But whoever we get in has got to be a step up from that. And that is the problem. Yes, we are in an attractive position, as Kyle said there, but we're not, how many times did we get linked to Ancelotti? Every time there's a manager's job, Ancelotti. We didn't get him. He went to Everton and he walked out on Everton. So just because we are Leicester and just because of what we've done doesn't mean we're going to get a good manager. But it is what it is. And this is football. And this is great that we can have this sort of debate and not sort of, rub things off strips off each other. Like I say, what is Peter Taylor doing these days? What is Ian Holloway doing these days? I mean, Neil Warne, Roy Hodgson's made a comeback. Let's get Ian Holloway back. He did it with Blackpool. He did what he did with Blackpool. Jason, mate, thanks very much for turning up. As I say, again, I apologise for the... I thought you were ducking us when you didn't come on at the start.
No, broadband is down where I am. And I was wondering, I was looking on there, Chris, and that's when I sent you the message, and I was like, oh, my God. So I've just had to come out in the car and using the reception.
Right. No, I understand now. No, not a problem. I say I apologise. Thanks for coming on. Let's face it, we're never going to get an answer tonight. The poll has ended, and it's 50% want him in, 42% want him out, and 8% can't decide at the moment. So... come on, that 8%. Get off the fence. Get off the fence and decide.
I tell you what, Chris. We'll redo the poll in a couple of. Give it another 3 or 4 games. See where we are then, and let's just see.
Yes, yeah. We are fickle as football fans. Let's be honest. If we win the next 3 or 4, we'll all be saying how wonderful he is again. But thanks for coming on, Jason. We'll do it again.
You're welcome,
soon.
mate.
And thanks a lot. Yeah, we'll get you on again soon. And take care, bud. And stay safe.
And you too, Chris. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, bud. Take care. Thanks to Jason for coming on, despite his broadband problems. That's dedication for you, actually, when you go and sit out in the car to get a broadband signal. we're never going to decide, are we? We're us fans, whoever it is. I'm sure some fans were saying give Puel extra time. Somebody's just voted and changed the poll. That was a shame that it had already ended and I just hadn't clicked it. But, what will be, will be. I'm sure, like I say, win a couple of games, we'll think the sun shines out his arse again. But for me, and Leicester till I die, he's in until he proves he's useless. In as much as I want him to stay for the rest of the season, I want to give him the season to try and change and try and rebuild. Mike says Rodgers in as a neutral there. Yep, I can say Man United rumoured to be with him. We all kicked off. Now we want him to go. I just don't get it. But for me, keep him. He stays. He has the summer. He has the transfer window, and then we'll relook at it again if we are still as bad or worse off than we are now in December, pre-next season's transfer window. I've got another show in 20 minutes, 19 minutes now and counting. It's the prediction show. We'll try and predict who's going to be next Leicester manager. No, we won't. We'll be predicting the weekend's games. Join us then. And Mike says that, Mike said, Man United fan. He ain't being sarcastic, thinks he still needs time. David said, Chris, I really enjoyed this hour of discussion. Thank you. Dorco says, thank the players. Look, we've all got different views. If you are a Rodgers out fan, it doesn't make you anything less of a Leicester fan. It doesn't mean you are wrong. It means you have an opinion and you are entitled to that opinion. And that opinion will always be allowed to be aired on Leicester Till I Die, which is whether you think it's right or wrong. It's why I did this tonight, to give both sides a voice. And let's see what the problem is. 18 minutes now, Mike said. It's quite right. So, thanks for joining in. Thank you for everybody that commented. Mike there, David S., thank you very much. Michael Gamble, or David Gamble, thank you. Dorco, Scott, Kyle, thank you very much. Dorco, thank you very much. I think I've said Dorco. Andrew Medhurst, thank you. Have I said Kyle? I think I've said Kyle. Turf Morehouse, David Hertzwich. I'm sure there was somebody else I was just looking for. But thank you all if you commented. And like I say, whatever your affiliation is, in, out, or shake it all about, we respect your opinion. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. I'll see you now 17 minutes to the Premier League prediction show. Take care, everybody, and stay safe. And don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. Goodbye.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open.
For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise,
visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website. Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
That's all, folks.